Most people aren't familiar with the names of the animators of their favorite Disney movies. Names like Milt Kahl, Andreas Deha, or Glenn Keane probably mean very little to a lot of people. Aside from Walt Disney himself, very few animators have ever been given much attention in the limelight, even though they are responsible for some of the most creative and iconic movies of all time. However, there are 3 animators that you probably know the names of, or at least know their work. These former Disney animators have gone on to change the game in animation and filmmaking one way or another. These 3 men are one-time Disney rival Don Bluth, visionary director Tim Burton, and chief creative officer of Pixar, John Lasseter. Don Bluth began his Disney career in 1955, working as an in-between animator for Sleeping Beauty. He moved up in the ranks, and by 1977 he had served as the animation director for Pete's Dragon. Bluth grew disillusioned with Disney, however, feeling as though the animation department had long since lost its spark. He pitched ideas for animated films, including an adaptation of Robert C. O'Brien's Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of Nim, but these were rejected. Frustrated, Bluth left the company in 1979 with a slew of other animators while in the middle of production of The Fox and the Hound. He formed his own animation company and by 1982 had released his own adaptation of O'Brien's book called The Secrets of NIHM. And while the film did not fare well at the box office, it was met with critical acclaim. Bluth then ventured into video games, lending his distinctive animation style to the groundbreaking arcade game Dragon's Lair. He eventually partnered with Steven Spielberg, and the two of them together were responsible for a handful of critical and box office hits, beginning with 1986's An American Tail. 1988's The Land Before Time became Bluth's most defining hit, outgrossing Disney's Oliver and Company, which was released on the same day. While its box office and critical favor began to wane after that, the exception being the 1997 hit Anastasia, he is nevertheless an important part of animation history. Not only did he serve as a rival for his former employers, but he offered meaningful, rich, and thoughtful work that made him a name in his own right. Tim Burton began his time at Disney in the early 80s. His unique visual style can be seen early on in concept art. Under Disney, Burton produced and directed a handful of stop-motion animated and live-action shorts, his last one being 1984's Frankenweenie. Those early shorts have now garnered somewhat of a following. They were not financially profitable, and Disney did not like the style he presented to the audience. As such, he was fired, but he didn't stay down for long. He rose to prominence as a feature film director with a string of hits in the late 80s and early 90s with Beetlejuice, Batman, and Edward Scissorhands, just to name a few, all of which established Burton's signature visual style, and all of which were critical and box office successes. Burton even returned to do work with Disney, albeit under the subsidiary Touchstone Distribution Company, with the 1993 stop-motion musical The Nightmare Before Christmas. Burton has become a renowned and popular director, and any bad blood between him and Disney seems to have eroded, as the director has made films for Disney proper, including 2010's massive live-action hit Alice in Wonderland. He even got to remake his short Frankenweenie in 2002 as a full-length stop-motion animated film. Burton's influence in the film industry has definitely been noted. His signature style has gone on and will probably continue to influence future directors, cinematographers, and animators for decades to come. John Lasseter began working at Disney around the same time Burton did. Both he and Burton had studied animation at the Cal Arts Institute, where Lasseter made a name for himself. While working for the studio, he became enamored with the emerging technology of computer-generated imagery, or CGI. He recognized that this type of technology could be used in animation, and he began to push for more CGI in the animated features. The heads of the animation department were not too keen on the idea and subsequently fired him. Lasseter soon found employment under Lucasfilms. While working for the company, Lasseter began to learn how to use CGI technology, and he in turn taught the software developers about film, art, and animation. The CGI component of Lucasfilms was renamed Pixar, and they began to venture away from adding CG to other films to creating films in their own right, starting with the short subject Luxo Jr., released in 1986. Pixar, with Lasseter at the helm, won its first Academy Award 2 years later for Tin Toy, putting the burgeoning animation company on the map. Pixar soon partnered with Disney. In 1995, Pixar moved from shorts to feature-length films with the landmark movie Toy Story, directed by Lasseter himself. Since then, Pixar has never looked back, releasing hit after hit and garnering worldwide love and acclaim from fans and film critics alike. In 2006, Disney bought Pixar for over $7 billion and instated Lasseter as the head of Walt Disney Animation Studios, on top of him remaining the head honcho of Pixar. Just to recap, the same man who was fired from Disney Animation for trying to implement new technologies into animation has become the leader of the same animation department precisely because of what he tried to do at Disney. It truly is an inspiring tale. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something new about these three famous ex-Disney animators. Hopefully, it'll give you some appreciation for the animators who were responsible for so many wonderful films. Thanks for watching.